I've actually been doing for well over a decade and just building that businesses that I've been building and I never wanted to lose. But unfortunately, I think when you do lose, you learn some of your biggest lessons. And I kind of.
And there's so much stuff that we have and that we keep to ourselves, and then there's stuff that we share. And she has
It
so many.
began in a quiet room. No flashing cameras, no royal titles, just familiar faces who had known each other for years. Among them sat Serena Williams, calm, private, the kind of woman who rarely needed to speak to be understood. The conversation drifted from one light topic to another. Laughter soft and easy. But then a whisper cut through the air like glass. It wasn't about tennis or fashion or even the royal life that one of their friends had married into. It was something far smaller and yet far more explosive.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry photographed on a sushi date in California. Last week, they celebrated their son Archie.
Someone leaned in and whispered about Meghan Markle's real age. At first, no one reacted. But when those words reached Serena's ears, something shifted. Her expression froze. Her body leaned back, ever so slightly. Then came the question. Quiet but heavy enough to silence the room. How did she have kids? It wasn't said in anger or spite. It was confusion, disbelief, the kind of question that makes you realize the story you thought you knew might not be true at all. And because it came from Serena, someone known for grace and discipline, it wasn't dismissed as gossip. It hit like a shockwave. The energy changed instantly. Smiles faded. And suddenly Meghan's picture-perfect timeline didn't feel so perfect anymore. Before we go any further, ask yourself this.
And then both of you start twerking, because in her mind she was thinking, I'm going to release this later in a Netflix doc or release it later.
What would make someone like Serena Williams, who's known Meghan for years, freeze and question something so fundamental? What did she notice that most of us missed? If you're curious about what happens when the pieces stop fitting together, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because once you see what's coming, you won't look at this the same way again. Stick around. Now let's go back to where the cracks first started appearing. To understand Serena's question, we have to go back to where Meghan's story supposedly begins. According to her official biography, Meghan Markle was born in August of 1981. She graduated from Northwestern University in 2003 at the age of 22, a timeline that fits neatly on paper. But that's the problem with neat stories. They don't always match reality. In Northwestern's archived yearbooks, a photo shows Meghan smiling in the back row of the university salsa club. She looks like any other college student, confident, bright, carefree. But when people began looking more closely at those standing next to her,
in Netflix documentary series of Harry and Meghan, after Meghan Markle carried her baby for
something unusual surfaced. Many of them weren't 21 or 22. They were born in the early 1970s. Public records indicate some had finished high school as early as 1988 or 1989, almost a decade before Meghan's supposed 1999 graduation. These weren't random classmates. Their names appeared again and again in alumni newsletters, club announcements, group photos. They were part of her circle. So if Meghan was truly 22 in 2003,
you'll see me in hindsight, saying I love with you all night.
Why was she constantly surrounded by people nearly a decade older? This is where the cracks begin to show. When a public figure's story doesn't align with the available documents, it's no longer about rumor. It's about record. And if Meghan was actually born earlier than claimed, it transforms everything. The pregnancies, the timelines, the photos. What appears to be a simple biographical detail suddenly becomes something far bigger. Serena knew that. She's known Meghan for years, been by her side through milestones and headlines.
Harry and Meghan did not lose their titles. When they stepped back from the royal family, they were not.
So when she heard that whisper about Meghan's real age, Her mind did the math instantly. The numbers didn't line up. Her question wasn't an accusation, it was instinct. The same instinct that makes her pause before every serve, reading the court before anyone else can. In that moment, her disbelief opened a door no one wanted to walk through. Because if the age was off, then so was everything built on top of it. For the first time, someone close enough to know better seemed to wonder if what
Meghan Markle has revealed the strict royal rule that she dreaded following. In a new interview, Meghan revealed that during her time
everyone had been told was actually true. The room went silent. But that question, how did she have kids, hung in the air like smoke, heavy, unanswerable. The kind of question that doesn't fade but lingers, echoing long after the conversation ends. And that's where this story truly begins. Because when Meghan's pregnancy became public, the world celebrated. But something strange was about to take shape, quite literally. When Meghan's pregnancy was announced, the world celebrated.
Did you know Meghan's pregnancy might be a hoax? No wonder Elizabeth refused to hold Meghan's kids before she passed. They might not have been born natural.
Magazines ran glossy covers, cameras followed her every step. But behind those beautiful photos, something strange began happening. In some pictures, her baby bump sat high and perfectly round. In others, just days apart, it appeared lower, smaller, almost like it had shifted overnight. The changes weren't subtle, they were obvious, captured by professional photographers whose images would be archived in royal history. The human eye can sense when something looks off, when the shape, the height, even the shadows don't stay consistent.
I genuinely thought it was a spoof.
Meghan Markle's latest Instagram video to mark her daughter's 4th birthday has sparked a wave of...
Then came the moment no one could unsee, a video clip that spread quietly among viewers. Meghan smiled brightly as she lowered herself into a chair. For a split second, the curve of her stomach seemed to fold in on itself, bending in a way that seemed physically impossible. It wasn't a trick of shadows or fabric. It was movement that didn't belong to someone in that condition. The palace explained it as a camera angle. Lighting, they said, fabric tension. But the footage remained undeniable, replayable, impossible to ignore once you'd seen it.
We're not seeing stress. We're not seeing anything that shows us she's suffering from anxiety during this.
What made this even stranger was Meghan's constant gesture. No matter the event, no matter the outfit, her hands always found their way to her stomach. Gently, carefully, deliberately. She'd cradle it in nearly every public appearance, dozens of times. As if the bump itself had become part of her identity, the centerpiece of every photograph. Almost like it needed protection or attention. That single clip became more than curiosity. It was the first visible crack in the image of perfection.
Are Serena Williams and Meghan Markle still friends? Serena is serving up some truth on the matter. Serena Williams sat down with
a sign that something about the narrative didn't align with what people were observing. And when paired with Serena's question, how did she have kids? That crack began to look like the start of something much deeper. But sometimes truth doesn't come from documents or videos, it comes from people. Not the ones in front of the cameras, but the ones standing just outside the frame. The quiet observers who see everything but say nothing. Sometimes truth doesn't come from what's captured on camera. It comes from the people standing just outside the frame.
Serena Williams just turned 44, and her birthday celebration came with a special surprise. The 23-time Grand Slam.
Event coordinators, assistants, junior staff, the quiet observers who see everything but say nothing. Over time, whispers began drifting from those inner circles. Small details shared in private, never intended for public discussion. One event planner remembered watching Meghan backstage late in her pregnancy. She moved easily, gracefully, with no sign of the stiffness or fatigue most expectant mothers experience. No careful sitting, no lower back support, no waddle.
Through the air like glass. It wasn't about tennis or fashion or even the royal life that one of their friends had married into.
Movement that didn't match someone in the final trimester. Another insider mentioned they had never once seen the bump uncovered. No dressing rooms, no private fittings, always fabric, always covered, always shielded, even in spaces that should have been private and intimate. The bump remained out of sight. These weren't social media theories. They were first-hand observations from professionals who were there, the kind that make journalists take notice, even if they can't verify them independently.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were given a cheeky warning by Serena Williams at the ESPYs. The star-studded awards show celebrated sports.
Individually, these accounts could be dismissed as curiosity. But together, they formed a quiet, consistent pattern. One where the pregnancy was carefully managed, visually choreographed, kept at a distance even from those closest to her. Now the evidence was building. Serena's disbelief based on the age discrepancy, the shifting bump and folding video, and now insider accounts from people with direct access. Multiple independent sources painting the same picture. These staff members saw something.
When public personas collide, a tale of fame, friendship, and alleged betrayal.
They recognized something didn't line up, but loyalty, contracts, and professional discretion kept them silent publicly. Only in private moments did these observations emerge in whispers. Then came the moment that left even medical professionals stunned. Because what happened next wasn't just unusual, according to experts, it was nearly impossible. Just days after giving birth, Meghan appeared before the cameras. This should have been private recovery time kept behind closed doors. Instead, the world watched as she stepped out in full view.
Meghan Markle and Serena Williams, still best friends or just keeping up appearances? The two were spotted
polished, radiant, impossibly composed. Her dress was fitted, not the loose postpartum clothing most women need. High heels when most can barely manage flats. Steady, confident steps with no shuffling, no careful movements, no protective posture. She looked untouched by what new mothers typically experience. Medical professionals watching from afar commented quietly. Her recovery appeared remarkably fast, they said. One expert noted it seemed remarkably fast without significant intervention.
So Serena Williams walks into a hotel and she finds a vase like this one right here, right there.
Even with the best care, bodies typically need more time to recover. It's not a choice, it's physical reality. Yet, for those who had been connecting the pieces, the scene didn't look like recovery. It looked like performance. Every element seemed controlled. The timing, the clothing, the posture, the duration. A carefully presented moment that seemed to answer questions before they could be asked. A brief appearance, then back behind palace walls. For the cameras, it was perfect.
So a rich white woman gets triggered by a rich black woman who got triggered by a plant. Meghan Kelly.
Woman glowing with joy, husband smiling beside her, newborn cradled in their arms. The kind of photo history books love. The royal fairy tale reborn for a modern audience. But if the birth truly happened as described, why did everything feel so rehearsed? Why did even the most natural act, a mother holding her child, seem more like a photo opportunity than a moment of life? The perfection was the problem. Because perfection in childbirth doesn't exist. It's messy, exhausting, real.
Partners reportedly said it flat out. If Meghan's coming, you can kiss discretion goodbye. That comment stuck. These women weren't.
This felt more like a presentation than reality. And when added to everything else, the age discrepancies, the shifting bump, the staff who never saw it uncovered, now this impossible recovery. Each piece alone could have an explanation. But together, they formed something undeniable. A pattern too consistent to ignore. By now, the story had turned into a puzzle with too many missing pieces. Medical records, kept private, birth certificates, with questions raised about details.
It began in a quiet room. No flashing cameras, no royal titles, just familiar faces who...
Staff who might know more, bound by silence. Anyone who could provide answers? Behind legal walls. Every avenue that should lead to clarity instead led to a locked door. The evidence that should be routine was closely guarded. Documentation that normally exists for any birth, somehow inaccessible or limited. Hospital staff bound by confidentiality agreements that went beyond standard practice. Medical professionals who may have been involved, bound by contracts and professional obligations.
We're never friends. Serena Williams blocks Meghan as she begs to join her to the Sakai menswear spring.
The kind of paperwork that's usually straightforward had become unusually difficult to access or verify. Behind those palace walls, loyalty was everything. Speaking out wasn't an option. Questioning brought consequences within elite circles. Anyone who might speak up risked their position. Careers built over decades could crumble from a single conversation. Reputations carefully crafted over years could disappear overnight. So silence became policy, strategy, the only safe choice.
It was just minutes after this 2019 speech in South Africa that Meghan Markle says she and Prince Harry learned
not because of direct threats, but because everyone understood the unspoken rules. Stay quiet, stay employed, ask questions, face uncertainty. The palace didn't need to deny anything. Denial gives credibility to questions. Instead, they simply didn't respond. Information wasn't denied. It was simply kept behind layers of privacy, maintained through standard institutional privacy practices. No statements addressing the inconsistencies.
It's wild how fast the tide can turn, especially in elite circles where image is everything and loyalty has an expiration date.
No clarifications offered for the timeline discrepancies. No explanations for the physical impossibilities observers noted. Just silence, steady, and absolute. That's how official narratives take hold. When consistent messaging comes from authoritative sources, it shapes public understanding. Repeat the same story enough times through enough channels, and it becomes the only story people remember. Alternative questions fade into background noise.
But that is part of the strategy, isn't it? With this sort of belief system, to completely avoid seeing your own
doubts get dismissed as fringe thinking. The official version wins not through evidence, but through sheer repetition and institutional weight. Outside those walls, the world moved on. The public accepted the narrative because it came with official approval. Media repeated the story without investigation. Royal stamps made it legitimate, unquestionable. Anyone who raised doubts faced skepticism. The photographs were beautiful. The statements were official.
Oh, what a completely spontaneous and natural lunch outing. Meghan Markle and Serena Williams captured in crystal clear.
The family was complete. What more did anyone need to know? To most people, the story was over. The fairy tale had its happy ending. Nothing left to discuss or question. But no palace statement could erase what had been observed. No photograph could cover the video that folded. No title could silence the whispers from staff. No official biography could change yearbook records. No press release could explain the recovery that stunned professionals. No amount of media coverage could make the math work.
There was a woman in green looking at Meghan. She didn't stand. She wasn't clapping when Harry was announced and went up on stage.
No royal announcement could undo what people saw with their own eyes. The questions remained hanging in the air like smoke. Unanswered, unanswerable, circling in the minds of those who looked closely enough to see the cracks. The timeline that didn't align, the bump that changed shape, the recovery that defied explanation, the staff who never saw what should have been visible. All of it still there, still unexplained, still waiting for clarity that may never come. And so we return to that quiet room.
Hey everyone, so I wanted to give you this little video to show this again because
to the moment when Serena leaned back, her expression frozen, her instinct speaking louder than any rehearsed response ever could. to the question that made everyone stop breathing. It wasn't meant to hurt. It wasn't gossip, whispered for entertainment. It was pure instinct, the kind that only surfaces when something fundamental doesn't feel right. When the pieces refuse to fit, no matter how many times you try to force them together. Serena has known Meghan for years. She's been there through milestones, through headlines, through moments the public never sees. So when she heard that whisper about Meghan's real age, her mind processed it instantly. The math didn't work. The timing didn't align. The timeline collapsed under its own weight. Her question wasn't an accusation. It was recognition. The same recognition that makes her read an opponent's serve before the ball leaves their hand. The instinct that sees patterns others miss. And in that moment, her disbelief opened a door that no one in the room wanted to walk through. Because if the age was off, everything built on top of it crumbles.
Serena Williams speaks out against discrimination in Paris. A tale of privilege, prejudice, and the power of...
For the first time, someone close to the situation seemed to question what everyone had been told. Now consider everything that led there. The yearbook records showing Meghan alongside classmates born a decade earlier. Names appearing again and again in her university circle. People who finished high school when she was supposedly still a child. The pregnancy that transformed before cameras, a bump that sat high and round 1 week, lower and smaller days later. The video that captured something no one could unsee.
Guess how weird Meghan's pregnancy cravings were? Her favorite food is unbelievable. Before Meghan did the twerk dance to induce labor, she had just...
A curve folding in on itself in an unexpected way. The staff who worked closest to her whispering in private what they could never say publicly. An event planner watching her move with ease late in pregnancy, no stiffness, no fatigue, no physical limitations. Insiders who never once saw the bump uncovered, even in spaces meant to be private. Then the recovery that left medical experts questioning what they witnessed. Days after birth, appearing in fitted dresses and high heels, moving with confidence and energy that seemed unusual for the circumstances.
Shocking new details of Meghan Markle's major row with Vogue magazine, and
all of it shielded by walls of silence. Records kept private, staff bound by agreements, questions met with non-response. The official narrative repeated until it became the only version most people remembered. But Serena's question cuts through all of that. How did she have kids? 4 words that connected every inconsistency, every impossibility, every carefully managed moment. 4 words that transformed scattered doubts into a single, unavoidable question. It hangs in the air still.
Prince Harry and Meghan are here. Let's give it up for them.
Not just in that room where it was first spoken, but in the space between what we're shown and what we observe. In the gap between official statements and physical evidence. In the silence that answers nothing while suggesting everything. The age discrepancy that started it all. The shifting evidence captured on camera. The insider observations shared in whispers. The recovery that defied explanation. The institutional privacy that kept it all behind closed doors. No official biography can change what yearbooks show.
Have you noticed? Meghan may never have actually been pregnant. First, many photos show her baby lumps looking unnatural.
No palace statement can erase what video captured. No amount of time can make the numbers work. No institutional power can silence what people witnessed with their own eyes. And somewhere in all of this, there may be more to the story. Not just the official version repeated in press releases. Not just the fairy tale presented to the world. But additional context, whatever it might be. Hidden behind agreements and institutional privacy protocols. Serena's question wasn't the beginning of this mystery.
Why could Meghan dance before giving birth? No one realized she was fake pregnant. To celebrate Lilibet's 4th birthday, Meghan shared a video.
But it might have been the moment the mystery became impossible to ignore. when someone who knew her, who stood close enough to see what others couldn't, asked the question that people couldn't forget. How did she have kids? The answer exists somewhere in private records, in memories bound by contracts, in reality too complicated or too private to ever fully emerge. But until that answer comes, if it ever does, the question remains, echoing in the minds of those who noticed the inconsistencies. The room went quiet that day, but the question never did.
No wonder Meghan Markle's fake pregnancy video is causing a major controversy online. It all started when she posted a video.
It started with a whisper about age, a detail so small most people would have brushed it aside. But Serena didn't. She couldn't. Because when you know someone, really know them, you notice when the pieces don't fit. What began as doubt in a private moment became a pattern some found compelling. Yearbook photos that didn't match the timeline. A pregnancy that changed shape between appearances. Video footage that captured unusual movement. Staff members who saw what cameras didn't.
Harry sold Archie's birth as a story of privacy and defiance. But now voices are rising with receipts.
A recovery that medical professionals questioned. Records kept just out of reach. Each piece alone could be dismissed. A camera trick, a memory lapse, a misunderstanding. But together they tell a different story. Not the polished fairy tale presented to the world, but something more complicated. Something that doesn't quite add up. Because once you see the inconsistencies, you can't unsee them. Once you notice the timeline doesn't work, once you watch that video, once you hear those whispers,
the way she wanted to, and now she is able to show up as herself more organically and authentically, and
you find yourself questioning the official narrative. The fairy tale has cracks now. Visible ones. The kind that spread slowly but steadily through the perfect image until what remains is less certainty and more curiosity. Serena asked it first, but she won't be the last. The question doesn't need an answer to hold power. It exists now outside that quiet room in the minds of everyone who looked closely enough to see the pattern. Maybe that's where some mysteries are meant to stay. Not resolved, but lingering. Not concluded, but acknowledged.
Meghan's two kids show no black features at all. They're very fair-skinned, with the same red hair as their dad. Strangely,
maybe what really happened will remain forever out of reach, known only to those who were there. But somewhere behind those palace walls, in rooms the public can't enter, the answer exists. Somewhere. Inaccessible. The question, though, Serena's question, persists. It continues to circulate in conversations and quiet moments of reflection. How did she have kids? 4 words, 1 question, no answer. And until there is one, if one ever comes, the question will remain. Unanswered, unanswerable. Hanging in the air like smoke. A whisper that became a doubt.
But I would say that she's very mobile for someone with such a big, heavy bum.
A doubt that became a pattern that became a mystery. But it will always be a question, Serena's question, the one she asked when the math stopped working and the timeline collapsed. How did she have kids? The world may never know. But some will always wonder. If you made it this far, you saw what most people missed. The inconsistencies, the timeline that doesn't work. The question that still hangs unanswered. If this made you think twice about what you've been told, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more stories that dig deeper than the headlines. And drop a comment, let me know what you think really happened here. Because this story isn't over. The question is still out there. And maybe, just maybe, someone with answers is watching right now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.